you can hear. I'm back. I'm just getting 1 star. That's the only problem. So I am obviously concerned that you can't see me. You can't hear me, which is a great shame. Let's just try. If we just go down a little bit, you can see it here. Oh, that's fantastic. Just power through. So I mean, obviously you can see. Let's just try. If you want to wander down just towards the sea for a moment, and let's just see if we can improve the signal. Just keep going. Just because if nothing else, even if you can't hear me, I mean, I won't worry too much then about some of the kind of narrative elements of it, but just visually, the lights of the night, I think, just really make it, so that you've got, after you do get wind. So, I mean, this is where we're heading. We're looking down the kind of Golden Mile. You can see, of course, there in the distance, we have Blackpool Tower, which is where we kind of work towards. So hopefully we're able to kind of do what they call the kind of this Golden Mile. The Golden Mile actually is about 1.6 miles. So actually, it's actually fairly long, is the Golden Mile. It's sort of longer than a mile. But often you do get winds coming off. From this side, of course, we have the Irish Sea coming in. So it's Ireland on the other side, on the western side of England. But fantastic. We seem to have hit a decent spot. Can't hear, but picture's okay. Can anybody hear me? Are we still sort of stuck in that? Sound of you much better? I'm tempted to stop here. That's 2 hours ago. There you go. Right. Just a little slow. Fantastic. Yes, last year it was very windy on the foreshore. So I thought if I stick on the foreshore side, rather than kind of, you can hear, but no, poor camera, I can hear you. I'm getting so many different contrasting messages now, it's difficult for me to know what's happening. You'll appreciate that, obviously, because some are saying it's good, some are saying it's poor, some are saying it's loud, some are saying it's quiet. So, Tish, it's all good for her. So I'm going to assume for some of you at least, it's working. We'll kind of push through on that basis. It sounds good. Okay, so let's just see what we can do. So say we're starting here at the kind of South Pier. We're on the kind of Pleasure Beach side. It's the start of the Golden Mile. So behind us, don't know what degree you can see lit up. You've got the roller coasters, you've got the rides, you've kind of got the family entertainment kind of complex that was very much kind of developed with families in mind. So we are at the moment, as I say, on South Pier. And this pier, just sort of showing you so you can sort of see out there, it's the shortest, but it's the widest. So it's about 488 feet in length, about 500 feet in length. So it's the shortest of the 3 piers, but it's the widest. And that was a kind of deliberate move to be able to get in more sort of entertainments, more space for pavilions. Actually, last time we came on this tour, we started down there. But as as we've not had as much time this evening, I'm not going to go down the South Pier because I want to get us up, of course, to the sort of central area. So that opened in 1893, rather, and originally it was known as Victoria Pier. So this was, of course, named after Queen Victoria. Not surprising, the first of our trams hoving into view here. Classic element of being in Blackpool, of course, is the trams, some of which will be lit up. We might see the electric gondola a little bit later on. We're going to look out for that one. But we are hoping absolutely the first electric trams anywhere in England. We're here in Blackpool. So I've just got an image. I'll see if that can come up here, and you can see the South Pier not long after it was put in, because originally the intention for the South Pier was it was actually going to be a bit more upmarket. By comparison to the Central Pier, which was focused on kind of family entertainment, it was meant to be rather genteel. It was meant to be about kind of promenading, dressing up in your finery, and getting out and about. But we'll see some of those trams later, I'm sure, Catherine. So if we then actually have a look at this this is again from 1904, I believe, this picture. It's still kind of promenading on the South Pier. So fantastic horse-drawn taxis. So initially, as I say, it was set up with it being in mind that it was a bit more genteel, a bit more upmarket, but it really didn't last. Very, very quickly, they realised that there was this huge demand for entertainment, a huge demand for kind of families in particular, and so consequently, it soon became very much focused as being a kind of entertainment pavilion. I'm going to try us over here and see what the signal. if we can get it, because I know that I don't want us to miss out on the kind of centre line. So hopefully if we walk down here, if the signal drops too much, do let me know. But hopefully we can promenade in the midst here and get the kind of best of both worlds. A bit quiet on the other side, but hopefully as well bring in the lights for you. So Dawn was 6 when she was last here. Wow, that's incredible, Dawn. Don't know how well you can see. It's a bit of a glare here, but we have clowns, circus entertainments. Yes, horse and carriages have just been passing us by, and you may well see one in a few sort of minutes, Sharon. There's been about 3 past as we've been on the tour. So the kind of demand for entertainment really drove the development of the piers. And so from 1911 onwards, that pier was just left became increasingly kind of built up to incorporate first a 900-seat theatre. And at that time, the Pierrots, you know what the Pierrots are? Like the kind of, here's one, look, coming. How cute are they? So maybe we should have gone in one of them, shouldn't we? But I guarantee if I did, I'd have been stuck in there's another one. There's loads. It's very much, it's just part of the Blackpool thing. And the thing to say about Blackpool, and I'm not going to say this in any way with any negativity, so please don't read into it in any sense. But it is a staggeringly kind of, wears its heart on the chest, working class seaside resort. There's nothing fancy about it here. There's Sutty, absolutely. Well, Sutty was first discovered in Harrogate, where'd that come from? In Blackpool. The act, as you might say. Harry Corbett was discovered here, ended up on the TV, of course. But it's just about entertainment. It's unsophisticated entertainment. It is... So Sutty, of course, very cute little glove puppet. For those that aren't familiar with him, would do magic tricks. And the beauty of Sutty is it's so obvious that he was a glove puppet. There was no attempt whatsoever to pretend he wasn't and that's sort of the simple joy of it was that we all knew what was going on, but yet of course Sutty was incredibly mischievous, and Sweep, of course, and there was an element of chaos and mayhem, and that sort of wonderful kind of comedic device of the straight guy trying to keep it all in, being really calm, being really slick, and of course with these glove puppets around it just turned to complete anarchy. So everything was just very, very silly, but they are absolute mainstays of Blackpool. There's Sweep. So Sweep's little doggy, very cute. And of course there's Sue as well. The panel, let's see if we see Sue. Oh, Sue's coming up as well. So quite a trip down memory lane for those in this country, for those overseas. So it's a very popular kind of kid show, but at its heart it was a magic trick. And each week they would do certain magic tricks, and invariably they'd go wrong, and it would all be a complete mess. But just very silly, and very much kind of just geared for children. And Sweep just sort of did whatever he liked, really. Sutty sort of was professional, but the rest of them just caused sort of chaos all around, but in a very, very cool way. So I say, the first entertainment really here was the Pierrot shows. Pierrots like black and white, they're sort of like mimes, aren't they? Sort of French tradition. And, oh really? Been sketching Pierrots or Sutty and Sweep? Because she does Kids Kings, doesn't she? Hi, Sandy from Texas. So by the 1930s, this southern end, the southern prom, had become totally kind of focused on families. So that original idea of it being, kind of about the middle classes and so forth, it just got lost along the way. The demand, and spend, if you like, of this collective, huge numbers of people coming for a simple, basic entertainment holiday, just basically meant that they were swimming against the tide, and so eventually you just kind of gave in, and the whole area became what now we call the Golden Mile, became focused on the working classes, and it's really the North Shore, the kind of top end, where you get the more expensive accommodation, which is a bit more elite. But of course, other places like Morecambe and Southport were sort of seen as kind of more genteel. This was all about good, honest kind of working class fun. And so in the daytimes, it's about entertaining the kids. On a night time, it's about entertaining the adults. So, and of course down there, famously, who knows what was the most famous thing to get at South Beach? It was a wonderful kind of iconic thing to do on your holidays. I'll just post an image up for those that don't know. It was, of course, a donkey ride on the beach. The donkey's tethered up there by the South Shore. So a nice donkey ride along the beach was kind of de rigueur. It was sort of absolutely, the thing to do. You haven't been to Southport. Well, Southport, as I say, was very kind of genteel. It was very sort of, quite posh. So we've got kind of like Vegas-style showgirls up here. Give you a little cue. The sea is a long way, absolutely, it is. But it has a mile tonight, and we're getting 5-star, look at that. So again, I'll keep showing you these because they're just so cute. The princess taxis. Catherine saw donkeys at Scarborough Beach a couple of weeks ago, couldn't believe it. What did we get for lunch? About half an hour, apparently. It's just one of those kind of donkey rides on the beach was just kind of just part of being a kid. You didn't sort of see anything ironic in it. It was just something everyone wanted to do. Everybody enjoyed it in the same way that every kid looks at that and goes, Mum, can we go on it? So Sharon, you ride horses on the beach. Well, you're obviously a lot, classier than we are. But, we don't really have wild horses over here. And we don't have big open spaces either. And they'd be too fast for the kids. So I suspect that, donkeys, whilst they could be a bit grumpy, it's really kind of safer all round, really, for kind of other children. So I say, this south end, really, it's still the end where you can get the kind of the white knuckle rides. It's the kind of the roller coaster adrenaline zone. These kind of rides in the Beachcomber amusement arcade. So that even for kind of rainy days, Blackpool is very much kind of geared up to being able to entertain. Donkeys are banned at Western-super-Mare, a long tradition. Oh, I didn't realise that. I don't know if they're operating here, because obviously I've not been in the daytime for a while, keep coming at night, so I couldn't tell you whether the donkeys are still operating down here, but it certainly was a mainstay of the holiday. I mean, that was something that you'd anticipate and look forward to, like for a minute of riding. When can we go on a donkey? So it was very much £4 a ride, isn't it, Nicola, really? So it's kind of very much at the heart of it. And the thing with seaside holidays, and I'm getting a bit sort of sentimental now, I suppose, or nostalgic, is for most kids that came here wouldn't have come from well-to-do backgrounds by any stretch. But it was the one kind of time where your parents might say yes. You get asked for stuff all year round, but no, we'll see, or, put you off, distraction therapy, give you a biscuit instead. Actually, on holiday at the seaside, there was a much better chance that they'd actually say yes requests. So consequently, it was something to kind of look forward to, because chances are you will get more fun and entertainment in this week than you get for much of the rest of the year. So, horse-drawn carriages, we've got those absolutely in abundance. So, as we go moving up now, you're sort of seeing Central Pier, you're starting to come here, where you see the big Ferris wheel, hopefully. Again, the signals are not great here, so I may well just drop onto the other side if that's problematic. So let's just... horse and carriage is very cute. Yeah, I think there's obviously a variety of views on donkey rides. I don't think it's a major part anymore, if indeed it's still something that happens. I'm just going to cross over to see if I can get a better signal over here. I don't think that it is a mainstay of the tourism economy in the way that it once was. So can you just let me know, because obviously my signal is a little bit patchy, so just do let me know if it's a sort of problem. I think we're doing okay. So we're walking towards Blackpool Tower, which is the tall pointy bit right in the middle, and of course that is the famous, the site of the famous Tower Ballroom and so forth, kind of the centre of town. But there's something about this place, because it has a sort of fun-loving atmosphere, because it is unashamedly about having a knees up, having a good time, kicking back, enjoying yourself in an uncomplicated way, that it brings people sort of back over and over again. And so still, kind of to this day, it still has a very, very strong following. Even though, as I say, it's very, very kind of unsophisticated. It's not necessarily beautiful in the daytime. On a night it was fantastic. On a daytime, a little bit less so, as we said. But, it's Blackpool. It is what it is. So we get the tram coming through. And it has got some fabulous Victorian architecture. So let's talk about holidays. Let me just get a drink. Because we sort of all think about holidays now, where we're going to go, where we've been in the past, this, that, and the other. And is it quite compared to Saturday? Thank you, Nicola. Holidays, we think, are sort of just being the norm, as kind of right. But actually, they're a fairly modern idea, or at least they disappeared for a long time. Because holidays comes from holy days. Okay? It's obvious when you think about it, isn't it? So holidays were a very important feature of medieval life. All the various saints. No, Sharon, this goes on for about 2 to 3 months. Happens every year. Never knew that. And it's one of the things that when you tell people, they go, oh yeah, that's kind of obvious. Well, I'd never think of that. So holidays, holy days, well, the feast days, of course. And we still, of course, have holy days and holidays, or Christmas and Easter. So consequently, that's kind of where they started. They're a very, very important element in the medieval year. And they meant time off work and an excuse for a party, for feasting. You'll no doubt know, for any of you that have had any form of religious education, there are very many feasts in the Catholic calendar. So consequently, the feasts were, of course, time to get together with family, sit down, do nice things, and of course hope that the saints would be sufficiently pleased that you'd worship them, and so they would grant you, good fortune going forward, whatever that might look like. So that's really what holidays were. Holidays are holy days. And there was 26 in the year, which, if you think about it, with our 28 days annual leave, what we typically have in this country, I'm not quite sure about North America, it's pretty much the same, 26, 28 days. So that was always what was assigned to sort of working people, do you know what I mean, in terms of their leisure. Of course, today we get Sundays as a day of rest. So people did go away for their holy days, but they were called pilgrimages. So I'm sure that many of you have come across the idea of pilgrimages. These were kind of devotional journeys. You'd go to a place of sort of special spiritual importance. We're going to go around the back of here, and then we'll try and get in a bit closer again. We've kind of come around this bit. But hopefully you can see nicely. And it's striking that balance between maintaining a signal and trying to get as close as possible. So hopefully we're managing okay. So pilgrimages were really the kind of first package holidays, insofar as that they involved taking a journey. That journey, of course, was a physical journey, but it kind of represented a spiritual element. Saints weren't actually worshipped. No, they weren't worshipped. They were kind of prayed to, weren't they, to intervene. They're like kind of superheroes of their day. But you're absolutely right. They weren't worshipped. If I say that, I'm tripping over my words. So you'd have feast days of the saints where you'd appeal to them, pray to them, hoping that they would be able to utilise their influence. Because saints were sort of very sort of seen sort of like kind of superheroes, really, with devils and evil spirits all around. You appeal to the saints for protection. Probably a better way of putting it. So these pilgrimages people would undertake for several weeks of a year. They'd go off to the local pilgrimage centre. York was one of them. So, of course, York's had a great number of pilgrims. But you go to your local centre, a bit like you go to your local seaside resort, right? Wherever you are, you kind of go to the nearest kind of holiday place. That was quite norm, and that was the norm with the pilgrimage centres. So the wealthy did travel further afield. But this view is lovely. Go a few streets back. No, so it's absolutely, Nicola. I mean, I think that's the thing is Blackpool is a place that is economically challenged. But it puts its lippy on a night, gets on with it, and, a good time is had by all. But yes, absolutely, there is an awful lot. So yeah, Santiago, somebody mentioned there, Santiago de Compostela, another major kind of pilgrimage route. So depending on what country you lived in, you got different places. But generally, you just go to your local sort of pilgrimage centre. The wealthy might kind of travel further. They might travel overseas, might go visit Rome or kind of Jerusalem. But for the mostly, people just go to their local centres. So a bit like going to your local resort, that's where your holiday was. So the pilgrimage kind of demonstration of piety. If you remember Chaucer, your Canterbury Tales, remember that? Sounds like the East End of its day, right? It's a bunch of people going off on this kind of shared pursuit from Southwark in London to Canterbury, telling stories. I don't necessarily think that there are fewer lights. I think that they're spaced out. But yes, I'd imagine that the cost of electricity will... I don't know what you're comparing it to, Mary. If you think about the old tableau, which used to be here. They're now up on the North Shore. I may do this a second time like I did last time, and do the North Shore to the Tower as a second tour. But if that's what you're talking about, they are about sort of 5 miles up in that direction. But yes, it's hard not to imagine the cost of electricity must be having a bearing in terms of what's done. But what I do know is there's been a major investment in LED lighting. So consequently, the actual drain, if you like, on the grid will be an awful lot less than it would have been historically. So there's a kind of balance we struck there, isn't there? But they know full well that unless they invest well, they won't kind of get the visitors, they won't get the people here. So it becomes, a fine balance to be struck, doesn't it? We should place like Blackpool, Australia. Well, as I say, Blackpool is. I'm just noticing a signal drop again, so I'm just going to try and. I'll keep moving. I think that's the best thing to do to encounter some signal drop. You just keep moving, and hopefully we will find our way through into better signal areas. So, whilst these sort of pilgrimages were kind of like a holiday, it's also a change of scenery, isn't it? Which is important to us still today, isn't it? We want to go away, meet some new people, new experiences. So this is the basis of holidays, is in pilgrimages. The English summer holiday, in essence, is based on medieval pilgrimages. Which means that the big English holiday took a major hit when the Reformation came. Because pilgrimages were in fact banned. The English holiday, in effect, disappeared between the 1540s, and the 19th century. You're given Sunday through the scriptures, but the idea of holidays had gone. So the feast days have been banned, and so consequently, that's it. That's the end of the holidays. No pilgrimages, no holidays. You stay where you are, as you might say. So that idea of going somewhere, spending some time away, was completely lost. Look at the lights there. Everything is just so colourful, of course, against the night sky, that it just becomes a feast for the centres. So again, the super wealthy, of course, could still manage to get out and about on their grand tours, but for the most part, holidays just simply were kind of written off. But it's the Industrial Revolution that's become a catalyst for the re-emergence of the English seaside holiday. And this place, more than anywhere else in Britain, is at the heart of that. And it's all to do with the transition from an agricultural economy to an industrial economy. Now, when we were obviously just largely based on agriculture, and for those that live in agricultural areas, you'll know, at certain times of year, it's all hands to the pump, right? You're going to get planting, cropping, threshing, whatever needs doing on the farm. The harvest and various other jobs basically demand huge labour forces, right? So consequently, holidays and pilgrimages were based very much around harvest time. So everybody would actually go off on the same time on these pilgrimages. What was different, of course, when it came to the Industrial Revolution was, it was no longer driven by the seasons. It was powered by steam, not the weather. So you've got this big move of people coming from the rural countryside working in agriculture, moving into cities and towns, into urban areas, and getting employment in industry, particularly in this part of the world, in the textile industry. Time to Joyce in the winter. Sharon's absolutely right. So winter in the agricultural landscape was very, very different. Oh, brilliant, the train's coming. Was very, very different because everybody would basically hunker down because there's not so much to do really in the community. It might be, a time of kind of craft. It might be a time of kind of, whatever other things, maintenance and so forth. Because of the growing year, there's not so much to do. That's clearly not the case in factories. You'd want production schedules to go on all year round. Hi, Jennifer. So we're about to see one of the grand sights of Blackpool, the Illuminated train. We've got a pretty good signal here, so we're going to stand here. So what's different is, compared to the old lords of the manor that employed people to farm their lands, Wakes Weeks, absolutely, DS, you're absolutely right, Wakes Weeks, so we're coming on to talk about just now, is they're not driven by the seasons. So they could structure the factory shutdown. And the reason, look at this, isn't this beautiful? This is just Blackpool, this is 100% Blackpool. Look at that, let's just follow that on. Isn't that just magical? this is why we come. This is why we all come, because the inner child within us, we're just entranced by sites like that. They just speak to us. So yeah, so wait weeks. So factories, of course, what they need, that running a lot of machinery, is annual maintenance. So there has to come a time whereby you shut down your operations to allow the service engineers to come in and just check everything out, make sure everything's working, replace bearings and so forth. So consequently, that's what drives factory shutdowns. So basically, the factory owners would agree with their suppliers. Oh, no one come in. This is the big electric tram. They would agree with their suppliers in advance when this was going to be. So you could actually plan your year, basically, the production schedules and so forth. And it might be a week, it might be a fortnight. Here's another one, look. This one is the tram. The ship. Who's been on one of these, by the way? Catherine has, yeah. So initially, these sort of weeks off work were unpaid, which is a bit rough. But what they did was they began these kind of savings clubs where each week you'd put in a bit of money. Hillary was here on a train only last year. Oh, fantastic. We were here twice last year doing this tour, or two versions of this tour. Reverend Dot was here a very long time ago. Another one, the boat one's coming. So I think we've timed it pretty well here. The signal's okay. So we'll just, again, wait for this to just delight us, really, isn't it? I mean, it's just such simple pleasures, you know, hello, Jenny. You know, if you've got kids or grandkids, you know, this is a perfect place to bring them. Your gunship up at the top. Isn't that something? So let's keep walking on. So yeah, so we've got these factories being shut down for maintenance. So initially, SSH not paid for these holidays, but what people do is they save a penny or a farthing or whatever from their wages. Lots of big kids on here, I think, each week to basically so they can afford. So they've got some, not only can they afford to live during that week or fortnight, but also they can afford to enjoy themselves. It's like a club. We did, on one of the tours last year, Casey, we did go on a tram, and that was the second tour, which was done from North Shore, from Bispam, where the Tableau are, down to the Tower Ballroom end. So we did two tours, this one and the other one. So you've got these kind of savings clubs who are kind of used to sort of fund, you know, your basic holiday. And there was also this kind of long-held belief that bathing in the sea in July and August was good for the constitution. So it relates to the spas. You know, we've done tours about spas like Knaresborough, Harrogate, Scarborough. We've talked about spas. There's this idea of kind of constitutional benefits of being exposed to the seawater. So these, again, were sort of driving factors that creates an appetite for what becomes the English seaside holiday. So a cheap urban getaway for the working classes, which is really enabled by the arrival of steam railway. So each of the textile towns in the northwest would take their holiday, someone already mentioned it, Wakes Week, in a different week. And what this did was it ensured that the engineers would be able to service the machines that drove the Industrial Revolution. So it's no good everyone shutting at once, because you wouldn't be able to get the manpower to come in, strip down, clean up, service your machinery. So through July and August, different factories, different towns have different weeks. And then the whole thing is geared up to say, right, okay, in that week or in that 2 weeks, we're all going to Blackpool. Okay, so what that meant was there was suddenly a huge demand for accommodation. Cheap, affordable, seaside accommodation. So one of the regular trams, just over coming here. Yes, Sarah, it is still affordable for working class people in the UK to come here, without doubt. I mean, of course, as you will know, you've got children wanting money to spend. Can I have this? Can I have that? Can I have the other? It maybe you can't afford everything your children might like, but in comparison to much of England, this is still definitely in the affordable as possible category. But of course, with this cost of living crisis and so forth, I'm not going to tone deaf to the fact that people are up against it. So for a lot of people would find it affordable here, absolutely. So basically, as a result of this, because you've got these different factories, these different towns closing down, what it meant was you could guarantee a full summer season. And that was really kind of important, because what it meant then is if you were prepared to open up a guest house, accommodation, tea room, a restaurant, or whatever it might be that would entice the visitors in, you would be guaranteed that you would have basically a captive audience week after week after week. It's not just a couple of weeks here and there, it's all the way. So you guaranteed a whole summer of holidaymakers kind of eager for bathing, cheap lodgings, entertainment. So consequently, it enabled a great deal of investment, which is how, of course, we end up with this Golden Mile, which is it's actually a mile, 1.6 miles, but anyway, the Golden Mile is a result, if you like, of this investment. So I mentioned earlier that the kind of the more discerning would probably go to genteel Southport or maybe Morecambe. So Blackpool, in effect, got left to cater exclusively for the working classes. Now, I'm going to tell you now about something that you may have heard of. And again, for North Americans, you might know what we're talking about. But bank holidays are a staple of life in the UK. It's paid holidays that everybody gets. If you work them, you tend to get paid double time. So a bank holiday was the beginnings of paid holidays in the UK. It's the very first time that people were deemed that you should get paid basically being on holiday. Because, of course, originally the bosses were appalled. Why on earth would you give the working classes a free day off and pay them? Just go and get drunk, get involved in all manner of unsuitable activities, and you've got to fit the bill. So what on earth would you want to do that for? So consequently, the idea of paid holidays was a distant dream. Even the Liberal Party campaigned for it. The factory owners, the people with money, were absolutely that is not happening. We are not paying people. So now somebody had a really smart idea. And it was introduced called the Bank Holidays Act of 1871. And it gave everyone the right to pay time off, with additional 4 days on top for kind of Christmas and Good Friday. How on earth did they manage to change the mind of the bosses? Well, no, the tower light's just there. The tower light's the big red beacon right in the middle. But it deliberately sneaked through with this kind of innocuous, just changing colour. Could you zoom on the wheel? Yeah, I can zoom on the wheel. We're just getting close to the wheel anyway, but certainly zoom on that for you. So it was kind of deliberately sneaked through Parliament, was this bill. It was kind of innocuous sounding name by a Liberal MP called Sir John Lubbock. And what he saw was the sort of miserable working conditions inside the factories and believed that kind of paid time off was needed to give people a break. But he knew that the bulk of the MPs were factory owners and industrialists, and there's no way they're going to give people paid time off to go around lazing around, drinking, sleeping. Okay, not going to happen. So consequently, they came up with a wheeze that said, we need a quarter day. So quarter day actually, something that's been around for centuries. And a quarter day, they still have them now when shop rents are due and so forth. So banks needed to be able to do a reconciliation after quarter day, to be able to close down their accounts for that 3-month period and start again. And so this was non-controversial. Everyone just accepted in business that the banks would have to shut down, do a reconciliation. But what they hadn't really thought about was that with the banks being shut, in effect, all commercial activity would need to stop. You can't kind of bank your takings, you can't really do anything. So they didn't even realise, and lots of MPs didn't even bother turning up for the vote. They just thought it was just like a thing about banking and kind of finance. But actually, it was about giving people paid. If they called it the General Holiday Bill, it would have been smashed on the rocks. But because they did this sneaky, they kind of created a problem they could solve, rather than just a problem they couldn't, if that kind of makes sense. So it wasn't until the Bank Holidays Act had actually come in. A lot of people promenade, absolutely, it's a popular night down here in Blackpool. So without people realising it, or without factory owners realising it, the MPs went and voted for free holidays, paid holidays for everyone. So we're going to say thank you to this guy, Sir John Lubbock, for his contribution, the beginnings of paid holidays. So we've gone from the holiday clubs now, enabling factories to have a bit of money to spend. We've now got, on top of this, lots of horse and carriages along the way. So hopefully we'll have to get a little bit closer up to the lights. We'll get the other side of here, and hopefully the signal won't drop. But I want to be able to bring you over this side so we can get some nice shots of the wheel going by. So that's really kind of where our holidays came from. And of course what that did with the bank holidays, it brought a new category, the day trippers. So these days, the vast majority of people that come to the seaside with day trippers. Thank you, Patrick. But at that time, this was a wholly new thing. The idea of coming here for the day. So this is kind of all these kind of changes, legislative changes, as well as kind of social and economic and employment changes, are driving these change of patterns in behaviour. And the response is because you know in a place like Blackpool, you're going to get the people, which is what we've got now, right? They will invest, and they will create sensation, and they will create spectacle, and they'll create entertainment. And so people that put up with jobs they hate most of the year, back-breaking labour, dull monotony, can look forward to a week or two of the year where they can put all that behind them, where they can just focus on fun, entertainment, on family. But as I say, you also then increasingly have these day trippers. So of course, organised, we're jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit, but Charabangs, who's been an old coach trip, Easter Monday, Whit Monday, the first Monday in August, you would have tens of thousands of people descending onto Blackpool to take advantage of the entertainment that was on offer. So consequently, as you can imagine, with all these people coming, all this money being made, it evolved into a 7-mile long coastline. Can you describe a charabanc? Yes, I can. A charabanc is an old-fashioned coach. So good for spelling that. Well done. So it's basically like a bus, really, basically, that carries a lot of people. And a charabanc is an organised outing where everybody in a factory, maybe in a church community, some people in the street, whatever it might be, whatever the common principle was, you'd all go off on one of these day trips. And thank you, Sharon. And the charabanc was basically the bus that would take you there. So a charabanc trip was something, again, to look forward to, typically on the bank holidays. So consequently, a lovely photo of my grandma in Oldham. Oh, I didn't know you had northern roots, Ginny. I thought you were a southern girl through and through. Well, Oldham is probably, I would say, about 30 miles away from where we are now. So we're not too far. Let's come back again to the main road, to the fun part. So you've got 8 miles of these entertainments. The whole thing, as I say, is geared up to uncomplicated enjoyment. And I'm not putting any kind of dismissive tone on there. It's simply about fun. It's about escapism. It's about a celebration of people that don't have a lot to celebrate in their lives, or historically wouldn't have a lot to celebrate in life. So 7 miles of beach was able to accommodate them all. So at the heart of the holiday is time on the beach, digging sandcastles, playing in the sea, kids' paradise basically, and free entertainment. So, but with this huge influx of visitors, the kind of entertainment industry goes into overdrive to give the people what they want, and whether that is shows, slot machines, fair rides, donkey rides, you name it, whatever that looked like, it was an offer here. My grandfather and his brother had a charabanc. Well, I'm sure they did very well in their business. Skeggy was the nearest beach to Leicester. Well, Leicester, of course, is sort of very inland, isn't it? So, just getting very busy down here. So hopefully the signal will do okay. But we will keep going. Skeg Vegas, absolutely. Skeg Vegas. But I mean, that's the sense, isn't it? That, I suppose Las Vegas is much the same, isn't it? Insofar as, of course, it's now uniformly known as, well, always known as a gambling resort, isn't it? But maybe Atlantic City is a better sort of version. It's by the sea. But it's uncomplicated, it's simple, blue collar, and it's all about simple enjoyment. Ginny was so excited in the 60s. Well, that's the whole thing, isn't it? For children, it was just almost too much. The front door was the coal lorry, and fantastic. So once you reach the central pier now, so we're into the middle section, does Blackpool have a secondary wedding destination? That's a great question, Casey. They do have a lot of stags and hens over here, because obviously it's very cheap. So, obviously it's very, very expensive to get married these days. So consequently, it's a great place to kind of come. So that's the central pier. And let me just... sorry. So just kind of finish off on that sort of section, really, thinking about it. So, as I say, it starts really to really kind of kick on from the late 1880s, 1890s. What's in front of us here is a new installation. You see these coming over the road, and they are being designed by Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen, I believe, and they are deliberately Art Deco. They're a celebration of the kind of 1930s Blackpool, which is, of course, when it would have been very much kind of in its heyday. Aren't they lovely? So last year, for those who remember, to come, we had the NHS Hearts, didn't we, during Rainbows for the NHS? Just sort of COVID had just sort of recently kind of come and gone. Well, not come and gone, but have been sort of part of our lives. So this is the new installation, and I believe, I don't know if you all have, but I think these new installations have been done by Mr. Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen, who, if you don't know, is a very flamboyant English designer, sort of TV personality, and a pretty decent egg, really. It's a little bit annoying, but you can see how they've gone for those kind of Art Deco shapes and so on. If you're into Art Deco, by the way, Morecambe is kind of one of the places. It's almost like going to Miami. You know, kind of, those wonderful sort of Art Deco on Miami Beach. Well, Morecambe, believe it or not, has got a lot of the similar vibe. Not a lot of the sunshine, as we said, but it is a very, very great place for those that are into Art Deco landscapes. It's all a bit tired these days, sadly, but it is nonetheless. They are great, aren't they, these lights? Yeah, I really like them too. So you can see now we're in a really kind of busy sort of place. I keep expecting the 4G would just disappear on us, but thus far it hasn't happened, so we'll keep going, and if it does, we'll pretty hard to the other side of the road. So, isn't this fun? So yeah, Blackpool really was just about sort of painting the town red, about freedom. That's the kind of, that sort of vibe. And you can still hear it now. I mean, you hear all these people. I'm on a thing called Heygo.com. Heygo.com it's called. So it's people asking, you do get this when you're out on tour. What's it talking about? Yeah, so each of the kind of the piers, so just our central pier, the Tower Ballroom, the Winter Gardens. Winter Gardens, we must go to some point. The Winter Gardens, absolutely amazing. Kind of indoor, but we can't go there on an evening because we've got the shows on. But if you think the Winter Gardens, you'll know what I'm talking about. They are spectacular. In terms of the elaborate design, the size, the scope, kind of galleon bar, you think bars made out of all that kind of ships from the 18th century. Absolutely carnival vibe. And that's Blackpool. That's Blackpool. Carnival vibe, that's a great way of putting it. But coming in the daytime, a bit less. And I say I'm trying to really measure my words, so I really don't want to come across as critical at all. But of course, it is a place that has suffered greatly in terms of its economy, but that's largely because it was doing so well in history. It was such a amazing place. So Hillary's at the Winter Gardens. It's incredible. I've been for conferences, the sort of big conferences and so forth there. Labour used to have their party conference here year after year. But what's interesting about the Illuminations was this was a response to everything was doing so well. Okay? So it was really brilliant. Everyone's making loads of money through the summer, and then suddenly you get to October, it's getting darker, September, October, and it goes down. So you think, well, what can we do to increase it? And so somebody had the idea of the Illuminations. So in September 1879, the Illuminations light up for the first time, and I guarantee it's not like what you're looking at here. In fact, what they were 8 carbon arc lamps. So enormously powerful arc lamps. Great red hot, tungsten, metallic, and they were 320 yards apart. And they were powered, each one, by 16 steam engines. 16 steam engines to drive these enormous bulbs. And they were said, each bulb, to have the power of, I think it's 48,000 candles. And these bulbs actually predated Thomas Edison by over a year. And what they created was, in effect, the world's first electric street lighting. So I've got a picture, if I can just find it for you on here, and you can see. Because you imagine that, I talked about this the other day actually, we're so used to places being light at night, but that for so much of history, we lived in darkness. And there was so little, light to penetrate. So consequently, this idea that you could illuminate, I'll just put that again because it might just disappear in the chat. This idea that you could illuminate buildings, so actually then you could promenade on an evening, and of course immediately what are the benefits? Well, A, you can see things, B, you feel safe. So there's a safety element in it. So suddenly, in terms of creating light, you've created more business opportunities. That kind of makes sense. Sharrabank coach in the road. There probably is. We're just near the trams, yeah. So these are the tram lines, so in case you're wondering kind of where I am, in relation to... So the sea is over here. So the sea's out in front of us. The Irish Sea is on my left-hand side. We've got a Blackpool Tower in front of us. They would have been... So Sarah saying they would have been amazing. They absolutely would have been. Nobody had seen electric light. As I say, Edison's light bulb was still a couple of years away. This was not the norm. In fact, this was the first place in the world, okay, that had street lighting. So this really was the first. Again, when the electric trams came in 1885, this was the first place in the world. This was known as the Electric City. Their motto is progress in Blackpool. They embrace modernity. They always have. So a place, a destination, if you like, that is really about creating new sort of possibilities in terms of entertainment. But of course, as I say, the primary desire is to smooth off the shoulders of the ceiling. The season, what they're looking to do is sustain demand. So the whole point of the Illuminations was about keeping people coming in the off-season. So the first lamps were gas lamps, but soon electricity replaced those. So the trams are the next thing, because of course the infrastructure doesn't really match the numbers. The sheer amount of people coming wasn't supported by the infrastructure. So consequently, when the trams arrived in the 1880s, it was about moving people and transiting them on. Never take electricity for granted. And what's fascinating is for a lot of the early tram lines, they were often fairly short, but they'd have like a fun fair or some kind of park or some kind of destination at the end of it. And the reason for this was for domestic staff. So people working in service, in houses, like Downton Abbey type shit, might only get an afternoon off. So you want to go somewhere with your friend or your sweetheart, but you don't want to spend too long getting there. So a kind of 20, 25-minute tram ride is perfect, right? A sense of arrival, but it hasn't taken all the afternoon. So places like Guiseley in Leeds, where Harry Ramsden's was, Belle Isle, these are sort of destinations, and Blackpool as well. So people would come along and be able to spend the afternoon on a date. My dad was in Blackpool during the evacuation from London. Brought to visit Illuminations. Oh, fantastic memories, Gregory. Well, hopefully this is helping to bring that back. Can you remember the Illuminations, or were you too young to be able to? Have you just been told you came? That's right. No one will be here right now. I mean, think about electrics and neonatal for a start. All that sort of thing. How much is utilising and bringing it into the world. So the first sort of trams. So we haven't seen a tram for a little bit, but they arrived here in 1885. And that was, again, the first sort of permanent tramways anywhere in the country. Oh, you remember it? Fantastic. So the modern Illumination story, though, begins in 1912 with the visit of Princess Louise, who's a royal visitor. I couldn't tell you exactly. She's sort of related to Queen Victoria, one of her nieces, I think. And they decided to celebrate her arrival. They would string lights from basically the poles that had been obviously created to put lighting in. And so this is the beginnings, if you like, of the modern Illuminations as we know them, start in 1912 with this kind of royal visit. And from that point onwards, pretty much year after year. But of course, something very catastrophic was about to happen, wasn't it? And many of those Northern Mill workers were about to be thrown into anarchy and chaos, because not long, of course, after 1912, we're in 1914, the outbreak of the First World War. And so many of these textile workers will join the PALS battalions, go off to France, and many of the towns around here, most certainly Accrington, of course, are known for the supremely high levels of mortality that are experienced. So it really dampened demand. Of course, firstly the war and tremendous loss of life. So it wasn't until the 1920s when the lights came back. Isn't this beautiful? This is new. This wasn't here last year. I don't remember this being here last year, but just very mesmeric, I think, just kind of the way it's catching. We had a caravan at the lake. She's got half term. Let's walk on to, again, the tram going there. We're right, you can see here, coming towards the central tower, the tower ballroom. So let's go and have a look at the central installations. Again, not quite sure what's gone in, but as we walk towards it, So the council very much kind of hopped on and recognised that the Illuminations really were a fantastic way of getting people to visit. So the ambition was to make it an annual event, but the First World War interrupted that, and so they finally come back in 1927, and it's been an annual experience pretty much ever since. Of course, COVID interrupted that, of course it would, but other than that, it's now a fixture of the calendar, and it's part of Northern tradition. And Blackpool associates itself with kind of fun and visit. There's a pub opposite here called Albert and the Lion. For those that may know, the very famous comic poem set here about a little lad that visits the zoo, pokes a lion with a stick, so Weatherspoons, absolutely, and gets eaten up. And all his parents want to know about is, can they claim on the insurance? A lovely little rhyme. So if you haven't looked up Albert and the Lion, do so. It's an absolute treat. Let's go and see these, because these weren't here last year, so I don't really know. I don't think this is still the Lawrence Road and Boeing stuff, but let's go and have a look what we've got. Back to Knaresborough, David. Okay. I don't know what these are, and we seem to have some barriers. So I'm going to go in here, and we'll kind of see how we get on with the signal. If not, we'll kind of pop out. But so we're on the kind of comedy carpet. I don't know if you know about the comedy carpet that's laid out outside the Tower Ballroom. But basically, because of the entertainment that was here, the light shows. Let's go over here, and we'll kind of come back, see if we can get in the projection on the screen. So, isn't this looking fun now? Cannot cope with. Yeah, I don't know what that link was, but whatever it was, I think it was wasted on us, I'm afraid, because we have no idea what it said. But as you can see here, a bit of a riot of sensors now kind of going on. There's so much going on. And you're able to see digital projections going on. The stop now, just I've got in here. Nonetheless, so I think this is a heart. But Albert like, yeah, don't worry. Not spamming. No, let's be friendly. Link to a poem, which I appreciate. Thank you. It's with hearts, isn't it? This is definitely about a heart. I wonder why that would be. But that's what it is. There is definitely something to do with hearts going on. So any clues? Anybody can think why that would be the case? Oh, is that coronavirus? Look at the spike there. Is that a coronavirus bug? I think it may well be. I think it may well be. Aren't they fab? Could we nest it? I think it looks to me like a heart. We'll perhaps have a look afterwards, but it very much seems to resemble kelpies. Oh, the kelpie horses, yeah. I don't know. So this is the famous Blackpool Tower, ballroom, entertainment venue, zoo. You go to shows up at the top. Trip up Blackpool Tower, of course, is one of the things to do whilst you're here. And this building dates from the 1920s, is when it kind of comes into its kind of main. But it was doing some displays, but it doesn't look like they're finished now. So let's go and have a wander. So down here, because this is an entertainment capital, particularly comedy associated with, this is what's known as the comedy carpet. Uwello, I suspect it's to do with Frankie Howard. So this entire area is dedicated to people that are associated with comedy. So again, I think we'll come in the daytime. I keep meaning to come in the daytime. We'll have a look at the comedy carpet, but let's have a wander over here, and we'll keep moving to ensure that we get the heart there. Is that magnificent now? So I'll give you a vertical shot. Isn't that wonderful? And of course, unashamedly, turn around, it's a copy of the Paris Eiffel Tower. So again, they're just trying to cash in and go, okay, that worked for Paris, we'll have a piece of that. Do you know, I don't know, does anybody know that Cindy from Motown, did they sue over it? I'm not aware they may have done, I don't know. Interesting question, thank you, Hillary. I don't know. It'd be a bit churlish if they had, but I don't know, maybe. Would you, Sue? Or is it imitation of sincere form of flattery? It is good, isn't it? So again, all this, it's all the, what they call the comedy carpet, just a tribute to Betty, Frank Spencer. So I'm aware that for the North American audience, they may well not be so familiar with some of these references, which I'm not dwelling upon them. But churlish indeed. It would be churlish, wouldn't it, to sue? So I hope not is the answer. That's my answer. I hope not. I hope they didn't sue. Yeah, lots of investment. And I think they need to. They recognise that the legislation is called Odyssey. Thank you, Ginny, for looking it up. I think there is a recognition that Blackpool's economy needs all the help it can get. So if you've still got people that want to come and visit, it really would be short-sighted indeed to not put the investment. But I appreciate, of course, that there is always so many pressures for resources. You can understand why the temptation will be there to divert them elsewhere. But I think it would be a hollow victory to disinvest in this one. You can see the sheer amount of people that are here, and of course this is a nightly free show that runs all the way from the beginning of September right through November. Can we pause much traffic? Yeah, we can do that. So I'll just let's move back a little bit, and I'll just see if I can get more of it into the screen, because are they really on until January? Yes, so again, I think they're extending it as far as possible because there is such a dynamic boost to the economy. So I guess they're kind of milking it. 2nd January, right, okay. Well, historically, that certainly wasn't the case. They would finish about kind of November time. But again, taking the original idea, isn't it? Extending it even further, why not? End of October, there you go, yeah. So it makes absolute sense. If it's working, if you want to come, they're making money, it's going to come back here. So I do like these ones. These I think were new last year. These LED light curtains, they really kind of do it. I'm just saying if there's one really good one, but I can't see it, that was here before. How late at night is it? I think it's about 11, Sarah. Those that are staying can maybe confirm that, but I believe they should have about 11. So obviously you don't want kind of too much kind of light pollution. And of course, while there's people here, you're going to get noise. So I suspect for the to enable it to kind of basically manage and sort of other people to live with it as well, it's important to strike a balance. I think about 11 o'clock is your answer. So let's just have a little further walk down here. This is to North Pier coming into view, but I don't want to go too much further. 10:30, thank you, 11, well, that sort of time anyway. So again, we've got more of these sort of deco stylings over here. Now, is Nicola, is that you that's here? So Nicola, I think, I know he's here at the moment. If they are, did I hear there's going to be some fireworks tonight? And if so, do you know what time they're scheduled for? Because Joe said it last time. But these are lovely, aren't they? These kind of fans are really, really beautiful. No, that was Saturday. Okay, fine. I wasn't planning on the being. I just saw a sign, electronic car sign when we were coming in, suggesting that was the case. So what do we like for time? Yeah, so we're sort of really a bit over, but let's just spend. Should we just walk down one more time, back where we came, just going to capture those, and then I will leave you, because I'm aware that we sort of started a bit late, so let's just give you another 5-minute run through. Everybody's happy. So thank you everybody that kind of made it over here. It was a major stressy, horrible kind of start to this for me, but my blood pressure now is probably as kind of low as it ever gets, because there is something just mesmerising about this. There's something just simply delightful. With the word simply there, I'm not downplaying it at all. That it is, there's something, isn't it, about coloured lights and the night sky that just push our buttons. Aesthetically, they just work. So again, with the vintage trams there, you can just see coming into view. Thank you, Jenny, I'm glad. Yeah, without stress, the crowds, absolutely. But there are a lot of crowds here. It's very, very busy. Much busier than last year when I came here on the Thursday last time. Average, where am I tonight? What, do you mean going home? I'm driving back to York tonight, Joe, if that's what you mean. Fireworks at 7:30. I thought there might be... So, what, tonight? What time is it now? Really? Oh, okay, well, if there's fireworks, then we'll stay on for a little bit. Is that what's being said, that there's fireworks? Can you just confirm that? So, Jenny... Because, that's what I saw, was a sign when I was driving in, saying that there was going to be fireworks. So, brilliant. Thank you, Jenny. So, if you want to stick around, it looks like we're going to have some fireworks. Confirmed. We're on the promenade. It doesn't say whereabouts. I'll just go and ask these guys. Do you know whereabouts is the fireworks sort of behind? So if we're in this area, we're about to capture them. Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, they usually are at the car. Thanks for that clarification. Not the low ones. Very high one. Thank you. Yeah, so it looks like from where we are now, we're going to have to see the fireworks. So for those that aren't in a dramatic rush to get off, go and do other things elsewhere, we'll stay for a few minutes and watch the fireworks. As long as my voice hold up, that's all right. Generous with my time, and I'm sure you guys will be very generous with your contributions. So it goes both ways, doesn't it? Thank you for that. I think an hour to wait. Okay, Lynn, I appreciate that. World Fireworks Championship. Oh, of course. On Channel Zero. Oh, fantastic, Nicola. The lady who does that is very, very good. She's a really good storyteller. Oh, look, Harry Ramsden's over there. Harry Ramsden's, by the way, was something completely ruined by accountants. Firework factory from Finland tonight. You're very welcome. Mackenzie, that's her name, yeah, Mackenzie. She's very, very, very good, great storyteller. And York has got a sort of great tradition of people who can tell stories, but Mackenzie is definitely, kind of part of that grand tradition. So she makes a great contribution to visit. So again, no, here's Sooty and Sweet. Look, it's up here. Oh, we can just see there. I just saw Sue in view. So this light show, as with last year, is a reflection of what goes on or what has gone on historically inside the Tower Ballroom. Massive kind of auditorium. So you can see here, I don't know if you can see there, you're going to see you, Lynn. Can you see? I don't know how well you can see in there, but there's just almost too much going on really here to be able to sort of focus on any one thing for you. But I mean, that's the best introduction of Blackpool is the fact that it is just completely 100 miles an hour. Everything all at once. Everything louder than everything else, as you might say. Everything competing for your attention. So, it's great fun. But yeah, there we've got Sooty and Sweet and Sue there on the front of the ballroom. Bonkers, yeah, absolutely, Ginny. It's the opposite of curated. Curated is such a middle class term. This is absolutely non-curated. It's everything in competition with everything else. And whatever succeeds in catching your eye, well, that's what catches your quid as well. So the whole thing is focused on, let's follow the train again. So let's come in and get some fantastic shots of the train is coming. It's the lit up train. Clark's coming up to get a bit more Sooty and Sweet. Here we go. Postcard time. How magical is that? Well, there's an hour to the fireworks. Oh, I'm not stopping on for an hour, if that's the case. So there seems to be a differing views about when these fireworks are going to happen. So I'm just going to try and find somebody that might know. 2 hours, Nicola. It's quite a long drive home, so I certainly don't want to be here and wait for another hour. But if you're going to be starting in 2 or 3 minutes, then certainly very, very happy to. So Mike's in 8:30. So that seems quite plausible. 8:30 doesn't seem kind of overly late. If that's, I'm just going to try and find somebody to clarify. But thank you, Nicola. Right, yeah. If it's 8:30, guys, then I think we'll leave it because that is getting very, very late to sort of continue on. So I've really, really enjoyed being with you, and sorry, as I say, about the late start and everything that went with it, but it's been an absolute delight, and I look forward to coming again next year it's kind of an annual thing of enjoyment. And why wouldn't we want to come to Blackpool when it is just frankly nuts? Here's another one of the guess the Canvas Donuts. Absolutely. So again, the light ship. Thank you. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. So from Blackpool, everybody, I'm going to say goodbye. Thanks, everybody.